Hey guys, so I am sharing with you guys a week of what we had for dinners. I'm just gonna go ahead and jump right into the first meal. So we are starting off with some hamburgers. I just put in a pound of store-bought hamburger meat from Dillon's, and then I'm also throwing in a pound of homemade venison. I am going to start seasoning up with a recipe that I found on All Recipes. I will try to leave all the recipes linked below for you guys to check out if you would like. So far we just have some salt and pepper, some paprika. I see that my camera is upside down so you guys can't really read too well. And then I'm also throwing in some onion and some garlic powder here. And then I thought this was interesting. The recipe also called for a little bit of brown sugar. I put in a small onion and mixed that up with my hands. And then once that's all incorporated and mixed to my liking, I'm just gonna put some aluminum foil on the top and pop that in the fridge for a couple of hours. So this was my first time actually making hamburger. So Josh, I had him form the burgers, and we had to actually add, I believe, 1 egg, and then we also added a sleeve of club crackers, I believe, to the patties to make them stick together. He's just pressing them into this mold, and then he's setting them on the pan before he goes outside to grill them for supper. To go alongside the burgers, I just thought we'd do burgers and fries for tonight. So these are the crinkle cut fries that I got, and I just got the Kroger kind. We left some of them plain. We had some cheeseburgers, and I will show you what Aniston's plate looks like. She topped her cheeseburger with some ketchup, mustard, and pickles. And then this is a look at mine. I just got a hamburger, put some tomato, and I had some homemade pickles on the side. So that was Monday's dinner. On Tuesday, Aniston and we went and babysat. So we ate supper at the place that we were babysitting, and this is Wednesday night supper. So I am trying a brand new recipe and doing my take on $1 million spaghetti, I believe is what it's called. It'll be linked below for you guys. But so far I'm just sauteing up a onion and a bell pepper from our garden along with 1 pound of deer meat. In another pot I am putting in some spaghetti. And then I also have a block of cream cheese just sitting on the stove. That's because I didn't have it at room temperature, but I thought that this would soften it up, and it did awesome. So now to flavor our sauce, we're just doing some salt and pepper. I'm gonna add some garlic powder and a few other things, Italian seasoning, onion powder, and like I said, the recipe for this will be linked down below. I'm just taking a can of spaghetti sauce that we already had in our pantry, and I'm pouring it in there. And then I believe I also added a little bit of water. Yep, I added a little bit of water just so we didn't have a super thick sauce. These are some herbs from our herb garden inside. I have some basil, some thyme, oregano, and parsley that I'm just putting in the sauce as well. So now moving on to the cheese portion, I guess, the white portion of the $1 million spaghetti. I have some sour cream, some ricotta, and then I'm also gonna add that cream cheese and just mix the two of those together until it's some type of consistency that I like. So now I am just putting some pads of butter that I cut up in the wrapper, and I'm setting that on the bottom of a 9x13 pan. I believe this just was because, yep, I'm putting the pasta right on top of the butter, and I didn't want the pasta to stick to the bottom of the pan. So I put about half the spaghetti. All of that cream cheese, sour cream mixture is going right on top of the spaghetti. And then just like as if you were making a lasagna, smooth out each layer before you put on the next. And then I'm going to layer some more butter. I didn't really find that the butter was honestly super necessary in this recipe, so I'm sure you could leave it out and that wouldn't be an issue. Going in with some more pasta, and then I believe I'm going to follow that with the layer of red sauce that we just made. So I believe I baked this uncovered for about 30 minutes at 350, and then I pulled it out and then added some cheese. To go alongside with the $1 Million spaghetti, I already had some biscuits, I believe from breakfast that morning that I had made that we didn't finish, and I'm just doing a quick garlic biscuit, I guess, for supper. Just some melted butter, garlic powder, and I think a little bit of Italian seasoning, and that was it. I just popped those in the oven, I believe the last 10 minutes of the spaghetti baking, and honestly I think the kids enjoyed these biscuits better than the spaghetti that I made. So I just threw whatever cheese we had in the fridge on top. So I finished off a bag of cheddar cheese we had, and then I'm also adding some mozzarella, and then to the top of the mozzarella I'm gonna finish off a bag of parm, and then I'm just gonna cook that until all the cheese gets ooey gooey and melty, and until the biscuits are done, and that's going to be our supper for the night. We had this as leftovers the next day, so I won't be showing you a meal for Thursday. Honestly, it wasn't our favorite. Like, we ate it and it was okay. I believe Aniston ate like a quarter of the portion I gave her. Aiden did ask for seconds, but I think he was just being nice and didn't want to make himself something else. I probably wouldn't make this again, but it was definitely interesting, and I mean, we ate what we took besides Aniston. So here's a look at my plate. It fell apart just a little bit as I was plating it, and then there is Aniston's. So like I said, that was our leftovers for Thursday's supper too, and on Friday I decided to make a chicken pot pie. So I'm making the crust right now, the pie crust that is. So I'm just adding some flour, a little bit of salt, and then I chilled some Crisco in just the measuring cup in the fridge, and so I'm just trying to spoon that out. It was super cold, so it didn't want to come out of the measuring cup. And then I'm just going to use a pastry blender just to kind of get the Crisco to incorporate into the flour until it's at a consistency that I like. So that looked okay to me. So now I'm starting to add tablespoons of water. This is ice cold water. The recipe said to do it until you get a dough-like consistency. It said you could just start at 3 tablespoons and just add 1 more tablespoon at a time until it's at dough-like consistency. And I think I honestly had to add like 7 tablespoons of water, which I thought was quite a bit, but we eventually got a somewhat dough-like consistency. So I'm just placing that on some cling wrap, and then I'm going to put that in the fridge to chill while I start on the filling for the chicken pot pie. So this filling was honestly super easy to make. So I had some fresh chicken breasts that I already started to boil in some water. I think I boiled it for about 15 minutes here, maybe 20 minutes, and now I'm just adding some frozen mixed vegetables. This is just the mixed vegetables with peas, carrots, and corn. So I'm just putting a lid on it, letting those kind of like thaw out just a tiny bit until the chicken's done cooking. As you can see, I have a couple tablespoons of butter and some onions that I'm sauteing up in this pot. And then once they got to a texture, I guess, that I thought would be okay to put inside of the chicken pot pie, I stirred that up a little bit before I started on the roux. So we're gonna start flavoring them with some homemade poultry seasoning. I followed a recipe online. I don't have the exact one, but I do know that I added sage, rosemary, some salt and pepper. I'm not really sure what that one is right now, to be honest. And then I thought this was super interesting, but the recipe also called for some nutmeg. Honestly, you couldn't taste it. I think it's one of those things that because you're only adding a small amount, it just kind of draws or brings out flavors. This was a super flavorful homemade poultry seasoning, and it tasted amazing in this chicken pot pie. So once I got all my seasonings in, of course, just mix it together, and then it's time to start on the roux. So of course, just some flour. It's gonna soak up all that butter, and then cook that for just a few minutes so you don't have a super floury taste. While that is bubbling away, I'm just gonna start dicing up my chicken breast, starting off by removing the skin. Again, since these were fresh chicken breasts, they came with the skin on them. And so I'm just gonna dice them up and set them in that little container to the side. So for the liquid for the roux, or the sauce, I guess, I'm pretty sure it's just water and milk. And then I just cooked that until it started to get nice and thick. So the recipe, or the reviews for this recipe that I found for the chicken pot pie, did say that they recommended you double the sauce recipe. I did not. A lot of people said that this recipe is just very dry, but honestly, I didn't even have enough room in my pie pan to add all my sauce. So I don't know how maybe a deeper pie dish, if I just need to save some extra for the side, or what to do in the future. It was good, it was dry, but I just didn't have enough room to add more sauce. Anyways, getting sidetracked. So right now I just am working on a floured surface with a floured rolling pin, and I'm just rolling out the dough that I just brought out of the fridge. I am not a baker by any means, so I am struggling quite a bit with this pie dough. So this wasn't perfect. It did fall apart quite a bit, and there were some holes, so I just took excess that was like hanging over, ripping it off and placing it in spots that needed some pie crust. So once I got the dough how I liked it, I started adding my chicken. I was trying to get a good layer of chicken before I started piling the veggies in. And then, as I'm sure as you guys can predict, as soon as I get all my veggies in, I'm just gonna top it with the sauce. And then the top layer of pie dough that I'm using for the crust is actually a store-bought Pillsbury crescent dough sheet. So it was super thin and was kind of falling apart on me, but we made it work, so no worries. So again, as you can see, several holes, and it was just super thin in some areas, so I'm taking the excess. I tried my best to make it look as presentable as possible, and then I just kind of made my own design to make it look kind of pretty when we pulled it out of the oven. I did mess up a little bit, and I believe I overcooked it by about 10 minutes, and it looked burnt, or just super crispy I should say, but honestly it did not have that burnt taste. It wasn't rock hard or anything like that, as you'll see in a few clips. So as soon as I got my design on the top, I went ahead and slit the dough just so steam could escape. And here we are. I believe it baked at 350 for about 45 minutes or so. It doesn't look bad. Like I said, I just cooked it just a little bit too long. And then I wish there was some way that we could have incorporated more of the sauce. But we ate it. This was all gone in one night, which is the 4 of us, so it wasn't terrible. If you guys like this video, please let me know in the comments, and I will see you again with another video later. Thanks for watching.